Let's jump on to the Webpack related code deployment strategies. There are different strategies which we can implement. I will discuss few things, few challenges also, few use cases also, and the best practices, so that you guys can understand. So deployment of Micro Frontend involves managing and deploying multiple independent applications. This is what you all know until this point. I have told you that it can be a different Micro Frontend repos, right? So each Micro Frontend repos will have a separate deployment procedure, and they have separate infrastructure also. One can have much bigger and good infrastructure, faster infrastructure. One can have smaller RAM infrastructure, whatever you want, depending on your different repo and the requirement. So, and the other thing is this way you can implement this deployment strategy of particular. So separate deployment is one of the key method which we can use for deployment. We can use the Nginx also, we can use the S3 bucket also, by the way. Okay, containerization. So containerization means you can have Docker and Kubernetes implementation, so that you can put your repo related code into that particular containers and execute that. So it will be very portable and scalable, right? You can have different pods. You can have one pod with good RAM and less number of storage, or whatever good number of storage, whatever you want, you can implement accordingly. Okay, and one way is to implement using CDN and caching. So when I say CDN, that means you can implement using content delivery network, because when your Webpack provides you a code, it will be a static code, right? And to leverage that advantage, you can push that code onto any S3 bucket also, any content delivery network also, so that it will execute on that domain also. Okay, so now CDN can cache and deliver their assets. You can put it on S3 bucket. It will be very high improved performance. You can use the cloud front on before that. So many things, like you can leverage the AWS resources and you can implement all these things. Okay, now you can use the service discovery also for communication between the Micro Frontends, and you can implement routing and URL management. But routing and URL management should be implemented on the container side or host side only, because otherwise it will be very confusing if you implement on all sides. Then you will have more maintainable thing. Okay, and routing between Micro Frontend is also implemented accordingly. And monitoring and logging is one of the key aspects which will be important in terms of production environment code. So monitoring and logging plays very important and vital role actually. Okay, why? Because you need to see when your code is not working, what errors you are receiving, and in production code nobody is going to see that. So for that you can implement Grafana, New Relic, or this kind of tools which will check for the performance also, and whichever queries are not working and stuff like that, right? You need to take care of the cross origin resource sharing. Why? Because if you implement, that is depending on your implementation way, they are maybe expected to communicate with each other, and they are on, let's say, different subdomains. So in that scenario, those subdomains, how they will share the code. So you need to implement the cross origin resource sharing for that particular domains, internal domains. And rollback and versioning system also you need to implement, because it may be possible that one point of time any one MFE is not working. So in that scenario, the best practice is to maintain the versioning of each Micro Frontend. Maybe depending upon the commit ID, or depending upon the date, or deployment name, or like that. You can implement load balancing depending upon the traffic. If there is a lot of traffic, you should implement the load balancing, so that there will be only one server on the front, and in terms of performance it will be very fast. Integration testing you can do using the Micro Frontend, and data sharing and all the system. Automated deployment you can implement through the continuous integration and continuous deployment strategy. You can create the pipeline using Jenkins or AWS or any other method which we can do that, but it's very important. And always remember, since micro frontend is a complex architecture, it's not very simple. Why we are implementing this complex architecture to get the performance out of it. Okay, so we know that this is complex, still we are doing that. So we must document everything, whatever is there, because there can be change in the team, there can be different people coming in, they may know the technology, they don't know. So commenting, documenting, everything should be done very rigorously. And deployment should be a very happening after very careful planning and coordination, because once you do it, it's very difficult to change that implementation of the deployment. What I'm saying is, let's say you created the pipeline and then suddenly you think that okay, this is not the right way. It will be very difficult for you to change, because your website is live, right? And it will trouble you a lot.